What is going on, everybody? We are back. My name is Nick Valley.
I'm Jonah Dockenai,
And
we're
this is
Rev Rock Revolution!
Today we have a very special episode planned, like really special. Like I've been really excited about. I was just saying before we started filming how excited I am. The wonderful Melissa Mulligan is here today. Thank you so much for being here today. I can't tell you how grateful we are and excited.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you guys. I can't wait.
Yes. I'm really excited to dive in and introduce our world and to your world, because a lot of our world has come from your world. And we met through you, and so this is very this is very important for us today. So Melissa Mulligan is amazing. Founder, head of music Career Mastermind, worked with artists like AGR, Cheslea Cutler, many people, and has created such a beautiful network of artists, and has taught so many people that we've become great friends with and have had on this show in the past, like Z Sonic and Stevie, we've had so many guests on the show. Hosanna, we've built such a network because of you, and it's been amazing. So this really is a big episode and a big moment for us on this show, and I can't just wait to dive in and get ready if you are. So let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
All right. So I guess my first thing would be a little bit, I guess, about. Obviously, we have our thumbnails this season, which are childhood pictures. So I guess we can start there and kind of get into how we get to music career. It's a long journey, but I'm here for it. So yes, I want to know the beginning to music career mastermind. Yeah.
The origin story.
The origin story. Yeah.
It's a long and winding road, as Paul would say.
We dig deep here.
Okay. So. Oh, man. Well, I mean, like everyone that I work with and admire, I have, I started off as a musical child, right? I mean, this is why we're all so connected, and why I feel so deeply connected to you guys and to everybody that I work with, is I am still that musical child. Like, I am still that 3-year-old who can't stop dancing and singing at the top of her lungs when her favorite song comes on. My new fitness routine is to put on a playlist of my 5 favorite songs and dance my ass off in my apartment, here in New York. My downstairs neighbors are probably not so thrilled with this. But yeah, so I mean, that is just who I am through and through. And I, as a very young child, started writing songs. So not to age myself completely, but I would get 2 boom boxes and recordable blank cassettes, and I didn't even realize how innovative this was, but it was necessity, right? I wanted to make up harmonies and overdubs, so I would record myself singing my a cappella song, and then I would hit play on one boom box and record in another, and then harmonize with myself to make.
Oh, that's sick.
To make these epic mixtapes. Total
That's actually
old
awesome.
school.
Yeah.
I still have one of it. It was just ridiculous. Yeah. And then in 4th grade, I was in trouble because we were supposed to be working on a big project all year, and I had blown it off. I had not done it. Yeah, I was that kid. And so what I did was I took one of my cassettes of my original songs, and I wrote liner notes and made a little cassette cover for it and turned it in. And it was the highest grade of anybody in the entire year. It was the most popular project.
That's amazing.
And for years I was like, oh, I faked that. I cheated because I didn't do any work. And then I thought, there was actually a lot of work. It actually was a full-on year-long project.
Yeah.
I made an album. But it did feel like work, which is how it's what you're meant to do for a living. It didn't feel like work, right? So I've just been obsessed with making music and people who make music my whole life. So professionally, we'll fast forward through, angst, not getting asked to prom. You don't need to know all of that. Like,
we want it all. We want it all.
You don't need to know about, going with a friend from another town in day camp so that I had a date for prom. You don't need to know about that.
Well, we do know now.
You don't need to know all of the crying details. It's all
I didn't go to prom, so you went.
It's all in my diary. But so professionally, it was a long and winding road. It wasn't an immediate decision. I kept dancing with the idea of going pro, but always kind of playing it safe, for a while. Mm-hmm. But there was a time where, in like the early aughts, where I performed for a living, like 200 shows a year. I did a lot of original music showcases in like Nashville and New York City. And while I was doing that, my sustainable income plan was to teach voice lessons. I was very well trained. I was obsessed with the human voice, still am, and would be approached at gigs and stuff like, hey, can you teach me or can you teach my kid or whatever? So I was doing that, and I kind of got discovered as a vocal coach by someone you both know pretty well at this point, because he's on our Music Career Mastermind coaching team. And he, through a friend of a friend, stumbled upon me and invited me in to work with some artists that he was recording. They were signed to an artist development deal. And at that point, that was when I kind of got into the music industry. That was when I was like, okay, I am with Grammy-winning, platinum-selling, like producers, artists, songwriters, and they're whisking me off, to be a part of these big rehearsals and tour preps and recording sessions. And I went, oh, this is why I never made it. And this is why my friends never really made it, because they are rehearsing and working to a level of creativity and innovation that I have never seen. Like, I didn't know to push myself. I knew to push myself to be perfect and work hard and train and be good. I didn't realize the amount of like mental effort and creativity that was going into the recording process, the songwriting, and the performance. It was a whole other level, as they say. And I was like, oh man, I want to bring this home with me to every artist I'm coaching. Like, I want to build this bridge. And that was really, it was years before I created Music Career Mastermind, but that was when I got the idea of like, what if we could really bridge the gap between all of these talented people that I know who have the ability, they just don't have access to this level of artist development. They just, you don't know it until you're in it. You just don't know the difference, right? And it's not about you not being good enough or not being talented enough. It's just not having that next level of development in your life.
Yeah.
So around 2015, 2016, not only did I realize, we're in the Spotify era now and artists need to do everything themselves, I also realized it's not only is it too much to ask you guys to understand like marketing and fan funnels and sales and messaging and recording and mixing, but also you have to develop yourselves. You need to teach yourselves how to be better at who you are. You need to pull out your own brilliance and your own authenticity all alone, or just like with each. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So that's why I pulled in like Mike Mangini and Coley and Skip and all these people that I feel are aligned with my vision to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And that's when the technology existed enough by that point where we could start to do the online group, collaborative mastermind groups with artists. That was how that all got started.
Yeah, no, totally. It really is a brilliant idea, because it's kind of, and it's hard to like, because you can't exactly say it's not exactly like, I guess, the setup of like a record label per se, but like you do get to have at least that collective, or because it's kind of the best way I can think about it is I saw this documentary a while back about kind of like the Motown model, about how all the artists were collaborating with each other and showing each other things and like getting to develop from each other and with each other. And that's the closest thing in the modern day world that I can kind of think about is how Music Career Mastermind runs. It really is, because it's needed, like you said, and it's insane to like expect everybody, one person, to have a
do all that by
unified
themselves.
like exactly. No.
Yeah, and like you said too, Nick, and without the emotional support of your peers, too, and it's hard to find. We're a special group of people, right, in Music Career Mastermind, where we pursue excellence, but not at the expense of someone else's success. There's no competition. We don't look at it as like, well, there's only room for Nick to become successful, not Jonah. It's like, no, we're better together, and we're going to inspire each other and take good care of each other, and then strategically, like cross promote and do all the things that smart marketers do.
Yeah, well, I could speak, and Jonah, I'm sure you could say the same. But I like us doing this podcast together. We've had many conversations about this together. Like everything that we do kind of as a joint venture, or like we share things, but hey, you should check out this thing, or I'm doing this thing now. Hey, we refer each other to things all the time, or turn each other on to things, or hey, this is what I'm doing. This is the kind of gear, whatever it is. Like we're constantly, and it's because of that culture, I think, that was
we're
built
constantly pushing each other
Music
up.
Career Mastermind.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is really important and positive, because people have in their mind just the idea of the entertainment industry. We can go on and on about this, but the idea of the entertainment industry, and it is in some ways, and I can speak on my behalf, being also in the acting world, it can be very much like that in that regard. So the entertainment world can be like that, but it's important to not be in those cultures and develop positive ones, like you said, because that is the only way I think you move forward. Because one person goes, and then it's like, hey, I'm doing this thing, next thing you know, one of your best friends is headlining and goes, hey, I need an opening act here. And that's just how life works. And it's important to just be authentic and real. And again, like, I can't express enough how important that is and how much that is emphasized, I think, even without saying, in your community. It's just kind of a thing. I think you don't really even let people in that promote that kind of,
No.
Exactly.
No, we don't. We do not. If we have a pretty, substantial application and vetting process, even if it's not on a live call, it might be through like voice notes or video trades or whatever. But if we ever get the sense that, and it's pretty rare, but if we ever get the sense that someone is just, too jaded, too bitter, too negative or competitive, or just sort of maybe trying to use people to bolster their own network, or looking for a shortcut to fame, we can't help you, because it's not how it works. It's just not how it works, and so I'm not going to set someone up for failure, but I'm also not going to let somebody into our very precious culture who's going to do anything other than try and lift other people up.
True. Definitely. And speaking of, I think that's a good kind of point, because I wanted to kind of hear about Jonah's journey too, and kind of where you're at now with everything. I can speak from my own experience. I came into the program, or I met you at least. Was it 2020 or was it 19? It was somewhere around there. It was like
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Exact. And I did a roadmap with you initially, and that was amazing, because first off, it was like, okay, yeah. It's like, I kind of knew, at least on my end, like, okay, there's a lot of pieces here that I keep hearing about, but it kind of like, okay, so there's like an order to this, and like like you said, like what it is, a roadmap. Like there's an actual path, and not just like, oh, I got to get this. There's a bunch of things all over the place that I have to do.
Right.
So with that, I think we kind of thought it made sense at the time. What you have as an accelerator program was, I guess, kind of split up, right?
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
And I did the music production class, which I met Z Sonic, who was on the show, and Stevie, who was on the show, and Robin, who's yet to be on the show, but is going to be.
Pretty well, yeah.
And like a core group of people that like I'm still like still have like group chat with to this day, and like we're totally like I talk to all the time, and just that whole experience of obviously the mentorship from Mike Mangini and Skip Logan from Almost July, and like that was invaluable in and of itself. But like you said, having that culture thing in there was just like, oh yeah, this is different than like other programs or other
Right.
Exactly, because it's not just an education; it's so much more than that.
Yes.
So I did that, and then I ended up going back, and I think I did the initial program again with you, the like artist program, and then you had done Accelerator at that point,
Right.
and then I came in and worked with you for a little while, and I did that as well, the program, and then the pro program, which was incredible, and learning all about mixing and sustainable, all the things that you learn in there. And obviously I'm going to have you speak, I think, more on that, but no, I would love to hear like Jonah. I never even like talked to him about this, like what your guys like how you found the pro. Like, we've never actually talked about this.
I think the first time I met Mel was my mom signed me up for this consultation call, just like to talk about like where I should go with my music career, because I was applying to colleges around the time, and my plan was to go to college, and I wanted to do music, but I had no idea like what to do like in between where I was and where I wanted to get to. We talked to Mel. Mel gave a lot of good advice, and then told me about the Accelerator program and to apply to that. And the Accelerator program changed my life. I went into that program, I feel like not knowing anything about the music industry and how it was in the modern day. And then I came out knowing, like, I was so confident exiting the program, like knowing everything that I had to do, the social media, the mixing, the producing. It was really big for me because I was not confident about anything going into it, except that I knew how to play guitar. That's pretty much the thing that I focused on. But then Music Career Mastermind really opened everything.
I could say to that point too about it's funny because I think it ties in again to, I love just callbacks and recurring themes. But when we're talking about that community and that sense of, Jonah and I joked on, I forgot who, it might have been Hosanna, but we were on the show with a guest, and we joked about, he's played on so many people's stuff from, it really is like Motown, like he's on everybody's records and stuff just because of that guitar level of shred. But like, it really does, again, just emphasize that point of that kind of artist culture and community and the things that we've contributed and things people have done and collaborated with. I think Brad and Hosanna did a project together.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, just like people working together outside. And this podcast is a clear like proof of that. But yeah, no, I can't emphasize it enough. Like I said,
I think somebody recently said that they were collaborating with you, Jonah, or they had collaborated with you, and they weren't in an actual like cohort program with you. And I was just like, boy, he gets around. Like, how do you even know him? I think you guys connected on like maybe like one of our, because we do a lot of free calls for like the graduates at large. So I think you guys connected in some other way, but you weren't in Accelerator or Pro together at all. And I was like, go Jonah.
That's what I love about the community is like even though like I'm not in a specific program now, I'm still meeting people from Mastermind, like just from like either word of mouth or like or the calls which have everyone in. Yeah, I'll get like messages after some of those calls is like I like your guitar playing and I want to collab, and I'm like I'm totally down.
No, exactly. It's like, I think we had a conversation with this when we had Sasha on the show, and she was like, oh yeah, like I had heard your music and seen you and stuff before we even, like, you were like in the pro program and I was starting Excel, and I knew who you were, and it's like, it's crazy just how like you said, it's like you're not even in programs with people and they know you, and then you end up working together, and it's so much larger even than, like you said, people that are in the same program together. It really is something that I could go on for days and days about, but I won't. I digress. But yeah, no. So you still do, obviously, right? The consultation, like roadmap calls and stuff, and
yeah, I don't do so much of them anymore. Just time has kind of run out, but I still do like road mapping assessments. I just have to do them a little bit differently now. So there's a form. If you go to melmulligan.com, there's a little form you can fill out, and then I can take a look and I can leave you some voice notes or videos, kind of back and forth about what my thoughts and questions are, and then if it makes sense to do an actual official consultation, we can. But I find that sometimes people just need to know, like, yeah, you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. Or, yeah, it's okay not to go to college. Or it's okay to go to this program versus this one. You know, a lot of times people, I think, know what they want to do, and they're just looking for a professional to back them up. And say like, and just say like, yeah, you're not as crazy as you think you are, you know, or, hey, maybe you don't need to focus on your Spotify streams. Maybe what makes more sense is to build up your music production skills and a portfolio and a community and, you know, focus on that. And maybe apply to Music Career Accelerator where we're going to be doing all those things.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, I know when you said you're not as crazy as you are, that's not what you said to me.
I didn't? Did I say you were nuts?
Yeah, well, you didn't have to. It's but it's okay. I know. I'm aware. Everyone is. But yeah, no, I would love to hear, I guess, kind of talking on that. I guess since you started the program and guys, how it's kind of developed and changed and kind of where you are at now, I guess, with everything over at Music Career Mastermind. Just for everybody.
Yeah. I mean,
history.
Well, I mean, at the moment, I'm going to say this any day you ask me. It's my favorite thing that I've ever done in my life, and I've done a lot of amazing things. I mean, this summer I'm going to go see AJR play sold out at Madison Square Garden, you know, and like it never gets old to see someone that you've coached play a sold out arena show, you know, that never gets old. I've done and experienced a lot of amazing things in my career. But every day when I log in to Music Career Accelerator and I get to, you know, do the hot seat coaching with all the artists who are there, every day I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done. Like every day I'm like, no, today's the best day of my life. And that's how you know you're doing the right thing. You know, like I thought last week was the best day of my, you know, best Saturday of my life. Today is the best day of my life. So yeah, we have Music Career Accelerator, which is 90 days of artist development, music production development, portfolio building, and music career launch planning. So for me, it's not about promotion and marketing as much as it is about attracting your ideal fans, collaborators, and industry supporters. And that's different for everybody. I don't believe, you guys know, I don't believe in a blueprint or a cookie cutter approach to like, this is the system guaranteed to transform your life. Like that's nonsense. You can, anybody listening, you can run if somebody's promising you that. This system works for everyone. If that was true, we'd all have lots of money and it would all make sense and be very easy. So that's our 90-day application only, invitation only program. And then for graduates of that program, for some people it makes sense to do, we're now calling it Mastermind Elite. I believe it was Pro when you guys were with us. It was a little different. So Elite is with me and industry professionals. I usually bring in 1 to 2 guests per month. And you could either do it on a month-to-month basis or you could like commit for a longer period of time. But that's really only for more like working pros. So people who are booking tours, booking shows, releasing music, getting into sync licensing or publishing, who really need that extended support, or you're building out a fan funnel and you're going to monetize it, etc. So it's, you know, you've done the work, you know who you are, you've got the skills, you're making the music, and now what are we doing with it?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that I can't recommend it enough, and I think Jonah could say the same. Like anybody
changed my life.
Because I do definitely have fans of mine who I've made through learning about things in your program, who watch the show and like I know some of them make music or want to get into being artists or music or whatever, and I highly encourage, if like that's something that they're totally into, to look into what you're doing, and because and anybody who wants to be like a real like pro artist and like do the thing, this is the place to be. Like, and Jonah, I know you say the same thing, so
Yeah.
No, totally. I'm so glad that we have you here, and it's really cool to get to hear everybody's backstory and stuff, because everybody, I think, has such different paths, but the same path at the same time. It's like, it's very hard to say, but like you said, like everybody, oh yeah, musical child, like there's definitely commonalities that happen, but it's always interesting to see those little bit of things that are different, and you know.
Not everybody worked in marketing for a medical device company like I did, per se. That's not like what every musician's journey includes. Yes.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's all those small things that I think build those, that individual and then to mix those things. Like I'll just say this, for me, I love doing this show because and especially this season has been really interesting, having people on. Because, and you've obviously seen like the show when it's just me and him and things like that, because we've been, we can go on and on and on days about our opinions back and forth, but Jonah and I have very, very similar, so it's been coming on here and getting other people's perspectives and stuff has been really an interesting thing for me. So I would love to talk a little bit about with you, like you're we're getting ready, yes, because you know how we can get.
I do. I'm like, stuff. Oh God, yeah.
But don't worry. But I would love to, because since I've been with you and since he's been with you too, we haven't really gotten to talk a lot about, this year has been very, as far as like AI, the things going on with, TikTok pulling out and all those kind of things, like social media, Spotify changing. There's been like a lot of things since I think we last were, and obviously all the things are the same. Obviously you got to build the fan base and build the community and have the systems in place and build the skill sets, all of that. But I would love to, especially AI and stuff, because Jonah and I have ranted about this kind of stuff, and but I would love to hear your viewpoint on this and kind of have a discussion on, I guess, where you're at with everything.
Where am I at? All right, so pick a thread and then we'll pull on it. Where do you want to start?
Where do we want to start? Jonah, I'll let you pick.
Let's start with the TikTok. I was talking with my parents about this last night, so I'd love to hear your input with like where you think things are going with TikTok and how that will affect the music industry, because I feel like a lot of artists within the past like 5 years were getting discovered on like TikTok and stuff.
Okay. Nobody should care.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Nobody should care. I mean, wherever there is a platform where people are showing up, some musicians will show up. They will be the first to hit on that platform. And then every other artist in the world will flood that platform. It will become instantly less relevant, but everybody will think it's more relevant because that's where everybody is.
This is going to be more true. Yeah.
And then the bubble will burst, or it will get regulated or whatever. And then it'll be a different platform. Like, this has been happening since MySpace. I mean, no, this has been happening. It's really like it started happening in YouTube. YouTube was the first Justin Bieber, right? And you guys are probably too young to really remember the Justin Bieber blow up. But like after Justin Bieber, everybody was like, you must be on YouTube. And then YouTube blew up, but not very many artists blew up on YouTube, right?
True.
And then Vine, right? And who was the Vine guy?
Shawn
Mendes, right?
Yes.
So Vine, Shawn Mendes. There was an app called You Now, which was like blossoming with some artists that I was working with at the time, like Hailey, Knox. There's, been some stuff on Instagram, maybe not as much because they were a little late to figure that out. There's more mature artists who are, have really figured out how to monetize stuff on Facebook using ads. That, who cares? Like, find a platform where, people you like are hanging out and make something they care about, first of all. Mm-hmm. But the second thing is, this proves what I rant about all the time, which is it's about people, not platforms. So if you are developing real relationships with people, friends, do not let those relationships only exist on a platform. Pull them in, have a newsletter, have a text thread, have a Discord server. Even that gets a little bit risky sometimes. It's like, what if Discord goes down the day you have a single coming out? Like, they're real people, develop real relationships with real people, and don't fret. It's not the platform's job to provide you with free access to a music career. Like, that's not why those platforms exist. They exist to serve themselves, their businesses, like anything else, So yeah, I just don't pay that much attention to it. I'm like, I pay attention enough so that if it's a tool that exists, my artists know how to use it effectively. But beyond that, there's no dependency or reliance on a platform. There just shouldn't be. So that's my hot
I totally
take.
agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, no. And for me, it's been like, I haven't really even, as personally speaking, I've gotten more stuff on Instagram in the last couple months than I haven't even really used TikTok and stuff. And I've been noticing that a lot with people. Its relevancy really has been declining, I guess, for the music community anyway, at least from what I've seen. But yeah, I totally agree with that. That being said, I would just love, and this is just for fun and games, obviously, but predictions on platforms, anything you see, or if not, when you think that'll happen, or just based off of past experience. I just out of curiosity.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the whole, TikTok ruling, I feel, is still on shaky ground, in terms of, will they sell? Will it be contested a million times over before they even do? I mean, so who knows, right? TikTok might be around for a while longer, and they might just sort of regroup. They might sell. Who knows, right? I mean, I'm not one of those people who's like, it's Zuckerberg, it's going to be Bezos.
Yeah.
I don't know what billionaire is going to swallow that up and then profit off of it. I don't really know.
Well, I think more so what I was like, Instagram is still around, obviously, but I think, or like you said, some of these, like YouTube, for example, these are still platforms that exist, but their relevancy in that form has kind of taken a step back. And when TikTok came out, that was the thing. So I guess more so of do you see anything on the horizon, or what do you, your prediction as far as that goes?
What I hope is that artists get smarter and that it becomes a little bit more decentralized, and artists create their own hubs for their own audiences. I don't really know. I don't know of any other platforms that are bubbling right now that I could predict will take over. Like I would have said, years ago, I would have been like, keep an eye on Twitch. That's going to have its moment, and it did, right?
Yes.
But yeah, right now, I don't really know of any. I do see a lot of people gravitating back toward YouTube right now, with YouTube Shorts and everything. So who knows? Maybe YouTube will have a third or fourth resurgence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonah and I actually
we were talking about this a few episodes ago. We were thinking about
last season. We had a episode called, and this is kind of cliche, but this is the closest that we don't get into politics ever. But this is the closest we ever got. Is we called it the social media party switch, and our prediction is that we kind of see TikTok and YouTube kind of replacing each other in, I guess, what they do for social community, if that makes any sense.
One canceling out the other?
No, but kind of we titled the episode The Party Switch because we almost see them having the same names, but switching each other's roles and what they do for social media. I see YouTube becoming TikTok and TikTok becoming YouTube in general. because TikTok keeps pushing long form content. I've been noticing, and I just see that happening, which is pretty funny.
That would be funny.
Which is why we kind of threw in that dumb cliche title. But yeah, no. So you kind of, I guess, maybe agree with that or can see that happening, at least from what I'm hearing on your end.
Yeah, potentially.
YouTube Shorts for me has been my best and most engaged viewed content in the last couple months or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Jonah's been experiencing the same as well, which I think kind of leads into, because this is a loaded topic and I want to make sure it gets in there, is the wonderful, wonderful AI. I kind of want to get into your thoughts are on, number one, I know AI music has kind of been the thing, and I've made videos and ranted about, and we've talked about this on the show before, where you kind of see that. And then number two, using how you kind of see or use AI, I guess, as a tool currently and where we're going. So it's kind of a loaded question, but
it is. Yeah. I mean, like anything, I think it's going to take us a while to, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, because it's going to take us a while to regulate this. So that intellectual property and people's likenesses are protected. I'm really interested in this, actually, from like a copyright standpoint, right? So, if you're telling an AI tool to write something in the style of Billy Joel, right, and it's scraping all of Billy Joel's content and then feeding you something, what is that considered? You know what I mean? Is that considered, a point of inspiration or integration or copy? We have a lot of interesting discussions to have around that. And, what's the difference ethically between like you doing that, you listening to all of Billy Joel's music and saying, ooh, I'm going to borrow a little from this and a little from that, and I'm not copying anything. What's the difference you doing that versus a computer program doing that, right? Yeah. It's just interesting. I don't have easy answers, but I mean, clearly taking someone's voice or face without their permission and without compensation needs to be hard stop. I agree. So I think there are some things which to me seem very clear, like, why are we even talking about this? This is just a hard stop.
Yeah. And
other things where I'm like, ooh, do I even want to open up that whole can of worms, because it sucks. Like, I hate that we have to have these conversations around creativity and where somebody's idea stops and someone else's idea begins. I mean, that's a tricky thing.
Yeah, that's hard.
I totally agree. And Jonah and I talked about this, right? I mean, a little bit, and we were kind of saying, I guess, along the lines of, like how you were saying about, what's I say? Right out of my head. I'm gonna get it back. Because you were saying about how, like, taking inspiration from something, like, obviously I think it always toes that line of like, what isn't, whether you do it or a computer do it, at least in my opinion, like it's going to toe that line of, is this inspiration, is this infringement? That it's a very thin line, which I think it's how you use it, and I think some people are using it as an assistant, and some people are using it to do their work for them, and using the work to do it, that's going to get us in a very tricky spot, like you said. And I remember what I was going to say is, we kind of had a conversation about, and I think this is in general, if you're looking at music and stuff, and a lot of the culture is very similar. Like, people are kind of, fashion is kind of doing this. I'm noticing this kind of in movies. So, and like, especially in music, like the sound of it too. Like, I feel like just culture from 20 years ago, like 2000, is very prevalent right now. And now having a conversation about AI in the same regard as, like, it's basically Napster all over again is really, it's just, it won't stop. And it's actually very interesting to see history repeating itself, which happens a lot anyway. And I know a lot about this. We had a conversation about this too, where it was like, yeah, that happens all the time. History just repeats itself over and over again. There are people who have written books about it and pointed out similarities in time and centuries of history repeating itself. but it's just funny how the Napster conversation is on a much larger scale, in my opinion. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Which,
I mean, I think like as an artist or a songwriter or a producer, I always ask people, like, who do you want to be? You know, when you're alone in your own home at night, who do you want to be? Do you want to be somebody that knows how to make music and has original thoughts and is an original contributor to the space? And if you do, there's your answer. You know, you can use AI as a tool, but don't get so, like, we use AI as a tool in terms of, like, you know, a lot of production software and plugins and stuff. Like, it's all, you know, AI has been around in music making for a long time. Just it hasn't been called that. You know, it's been called a feature or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
But, you know, you have to know who it is you want to be and not get so hung up on the shortest way to get a piece of content created. You know, first you have to figure out who you want to be and make sure you're training yourself to become that person, you know, so you can stand alone in a room and speak for yourself and make music and be in a room collaborating with other people and have great chops and great ideas and creative confidence, you know.
Yeah.
You can use AI as a tool, but it's not going to become you, at least not anytime soon. It's not going to become you for you.
Yeah. I think that kind of leads into the last thing on AI, and then it'll kind of lead into the streaming kind of question that I had, which I think it segues into that. But leading into talking about AI, like you were just saying about it getting worse before it gets better. Just kind of, I guess, because Jonah and I have had a whole thing about where we, like, our predictions of the future or where we see it going with it. But, like, for you, I guess, what you mean by getting worse before it gets better, in regards of, I guess, just where you see it going and where you eventually ended up seeing it landing when you say, like, gets better. Because you kind of touched on it getting worse, like all the arguments and stuff. But I guess where you see it getting better and where you eventually see it, like if you had to guess 50 years from now where people are going to be in the industry with this.
Well, I don't know that far in advance. I don't know. But will we even live on this planet?
Yes. Well, yeah, there's that.
But here's what I mean by getting better. I think that for a little while, we're going to see a lot of, you know, deep fakes that people just trying to, like, make a buck right off of deep fakes before it's really regulated well.
Yes.
But your generation and those who are younger than you are already so sensitive to the idea of what is true, right? I don't know what's true anymore, right? I go online, I don't know if it's true. I see an article, I don't know if I trust the source. I see a picture, I think it's been edited. I see a video, I don't think it's real. I see this thing, I think it's been staged. Like, we don't believe anything anymore that
which is crazy.
That we see or read. But what people do believe are experiences that they have in real life, in person.
Okay.
And I think that is where things are going to need to land. In order for us to really, there's always going to be people who crave human connection, who crave something real, right? There's going to be a singer who really wants to sing, who does not want to use AI to create the sound of their voice. There's going to be a singer who loves to sing, right? And there's going to be people who love to be in the room with other people singing. And I think we're going to see a huge resurgence of very, very stripped down things. Where the claim to fame is going to be kind of, I mean, we'll all be baby boomers again. I never used any auto-tune. Like, it'll be that, I think. I think people will.
So me already, basically.
Yes, you are a baby boomer in a Gen Z life experience, yes.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I'm hearing that more and more. Like, I heard like a 16-year-old artist say to me the other day, like, oh, you know, I went out and I saw this girl playing and she was so amazing. Like, it, you know, she didn't have any computer, she didn't have any this, any that. And I was like, so it was an open mic night with a girl with a guitar, you know, but she thought that was so special and so impressive because it was so raw and so real. And yeah, I think we're going to enter an era of prove it. Prove to me you are who you
Nice.
say you are. Prove to me, that you can do. And I think that'll
So that's kind
make
of the where
people
it gets
stand
better
out.
kind of thing.
I think that's where it arguably
Yeah.
gets better.
I agree.
Yeah.
And Jonah
I
and I
agree
have talked
too.
about this several times. And Jonah, I guess, and you can kind of speak on this for a second, but like, it's kind of like what we've been talking about, right? With the whole
with
Rev
live
Rock thing, like
shows.
why we started this show in the first place and stuff. Like, it's like kind of like with grunge and stuff. Like, it's just this resurgence of let's just like strip everything back and let's be honest about, it enters and that happens. It's again, like we said, it's just history repeating itself. It's like, okay, let's show you what's going on here. Like, let's do something completely different than what is going on right now. And it starts these underground things that become giant because more and more people get turned on to what's going on. So yeah, it's exactly what we've been talking about, why we started this show in the first place. So
Well, I love
it's kind of
that.
cool.
Call back.
I love to hear that. That makes me
we're
very
all
excited,
about our
actually.
callbacks.
Yeah.
On this show, it's all about callbacks. But yeah, I think that perfectly leads me into, with that changing, I've been noticing, and I think it kind of leads into, because we were talking about streaming and how Spotify kind of changed their rules and stuff, but it's not even about that. It's more about the fact of, like you said, artists are, as they're coming into programs like yours, and they're learning more about, okay, building these communities and not being reliant on these platforms and having our own spaces. And people are selling all their stuff privately and like sharing their music privately. People are even like sending their music just like as MP3s and stuff. And like, with that being said, and I saw a very interesting thing about this a while back about, I forgot who was saying, but somebody was saying, and it's very true, is Spotify was kind of created, or streaming stuff was kind of created for millennials when you think about it, like that model. And it's kind of shifting and changing because our generation is doing things differently and doesn't, obviously, Gen Z does not want to have anything to do with anything millennials are doing at all, which is a conversation for another day. But with that being said, do you see with that shift of Prove It? And we were just talking about this yesterday because we were talking about, oh yeah, the price of tickets are crazy and everything that's going on with Ticketmaster, like all that kind of stuff. And we were talking about this and kind of like, hey, when you think about it, the whole Napster thing, look, I'm loving the callbacks right now. I'm going crazy right now. This is like so many this is the most callbacks and it's fitting with having you on the show. The whole episode feels like a giant callback, which is great. But that being said, talking about that and kind of like music becoming, I guess, quote unquote, thought of as, what's the word that I use, Jonah? But you know what I'm talking about. How like people have this mentality of like they deserve music and it should be free and like
Entitled.
Entitlement. Yes. Where like you can stream a Beatles song for free right now, just paying a subscription, but you have to pay millions if you wanted to buy the Mona Lisa. And it's like, it's the math in my head on that is not equating. And with that being said, it kind of goes back to people streaming their music, selling their music privately, like I was saying, all that kind of stuff. Do you see that shift happening with, as far as the streaming culture kind of shifting, or not anytime soon within that?
I think that yes and no. I think you can, as an artist, you can decide to make that shift now. And you can make that shift work for you now, for sure. Okay. However, that being said, and by making that shift, I guess I mean like you can decide not to put your stuff on Spotify, or even if you do, you could hold some stuff back and sell it and create a fan funnel and give it away to your fans, or sell an album but only release a single. You can get creative. We do that all the time inside of Accelerator and Pro, or Mastermind Elite as it's now called. Everyone's doing that who's working with me. But I also think it makes sense to take a two-pronged approach, which is to still be present where a majority of music listeners are present. I don't think it makes sense to hide yourself from them. And Spotify can still be a collaborative, beneficial space, you know, in terms of playlisting, in terms of just accessibility for people who see you at a show. Where are they going to look you up? Probably not Bandcamp. Probably not Googling you to find your website, to find your newsletter. You know, probably just going to look you up on Spotify or TikTok or Instagram. So I
Yeah.
still think it's smart, to have a presence where you are. But I also think that you should start to make that shift if you're interested in really building out a core community. Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, and because I guess my point earlier is I kind of didn't touch on it or land on the point of was the ticket sale thing. We were talking about how the price of tickets is kind of skyrocketing, and I personally, I guess, see that as a result of like with the entitlement. Like we were saying, they kind of, when you think about it, consumers kind of did it to themselves because they didn't want to pay $10 for a CD. Their ticket price, like, because people want to make money in the music industry the most. So okay, we'll just jack up the prices of tickets because that's how we can make money now, since we're not making money from music sales and stuff. With more, I guess, more so like with more people, like okay, like vinyl went to cassette and then CD and then the online music thing happened, and then from people's baiting things bought on iTunes, and then streaming happened. Do you see an evolution of that, or do you think it's kind of reached a point? Like, do you see an evolution from streaming to something else, like how there's been the last 100 years?
Like industry wide?
Yeah.
Where...
Or not in the near future.
Where a label and a signed artist could hope to like recoup their investment off of the music, not just touring. Do I ever see it going back to that?
Not going backward, but some way, shape, or form. Because it's obviously evolved over the years. So you think she's streaming sticking around at least for the foreseeable future?
I don't see the culture collectively feeling less entitled to free stuff or to subscription-based stuff. I really don't. I think that, you'll see massive artists like, Taylor and Billie and Beyonce and people like that, like selling vinyl, selling more merch, monetizing and merchandising their music. But I don't really see, I could be wrong, but I don't really see us going back to a model where access to music has that type of a pay gate in front of it. Just typically in commerce, it just doesn't usually work that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. So then it's really going to be like smaller, like you said, smaller artists will have to not gatekeep, but like, I guess, hold things back so they can build a community, which also creates that music sale monetization, that kind of thing. And then our larger artists can make a living on kind of the old model because people want to buy vinyl and stuff from those kind of people.
Yeah, I think that's a good discernment. So I think the indie artist is doing the same thing. It's just in a different scale, right? So if you think about it, like, Taylor might release her entire album, but also sell you the vinyl, the T-shirt, the tour tickets, whatever. Maybe you're putting a single or two or three on Spotify, and then you're selling the rest of the album, an online concert. It's still a hybrid model, maybe just a little bit different. Yeah,
I got you. Yeah. No, that's pretty interesting. It's like, and again, like obviously no one knows where anything goes, because obviously, like if you would have said in the '80s where we would be now, people would be mind blown.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but I do agree with you. I definitely don't see it going back to commerce. Like I don't see people like obviously there will be people who will buy a CD and things like that, but I don't think it's going to go. I do think, however, and I don't know what that is, so I can't speak on it, but I think, like you said, with the shift of that prove it to me culture that will happen, and things that like people, like you said, it's not going backward, but if we're kind of, I guess, going back to more of a stripped down, I want to see if people can really do this thing kind of, and if music kind of does have that, not, like I said, not going backward, but it has that right turn kind of thing. I do see something happening as far as in that regard. I just don't know what that is or what that'll look like.
Yeah.
But, we'll see, right? I guess, as far as that happens.
It'll be interesting nonetheless.
Yes.
Yeah.
I maybe it's just a little bit of wishful thinking, but I think one day Spotify's reign will end and something else will come along which will kind of reshape the model. But who knows what that'll be and when that'll be.
That's true.
But yeah, I've always loved, especially like when I miss like being in your class, and I think Jonah's, but like being in your classes and getting to have discussions like this all the time. And I think maybe subconsciously we get in deep thought here, but like Jonah and I started this show and stuff to have a little bit of that more so, and then recreate that. But as best as we can, obviously. But yeah, it's just I'm so glad that we were able to do this today. I feel like I learned so much about like your background and stuff, and getting to hear your opinions on where you are now, because it's obviously been a second since we've gotten to do something like this.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for stuff in the future, and I'm going to be seeing you soon. I know you have something coming up, which I'm very excited about.
Yep, it's going to be amazing.
But yeah, all that being said, if you want to do, I guess, a little bit of plugging what you're up to, where people can find you, what they're doing, I would love to.
Thank you. Yeah, so probably the best way to reach out to me would be by going to my website, which is mastermindroad.com. It's just like it sounds, mastermind, and then the word road as in roadmap.com. There you will find, should be pretty easy to click around, find me on Instagram or TikTok, email me, mel@mastermindroad.com. But right there on the website, you will have access to I have this like flagship free masterclass called Creating a Meaningful Music Career. It's pretty awesome. It like goes over my whole 4-phase framework for an indie artist or professional artist roadmap today, incorporating like all the things we were talking about. So that's free. That's for you. And if you do decide to reach out or apply for working with us, please be sure to let us know that you're friends of Nick and Jonah. Not that we wouldn't take good care of you anyway, but we, of course, will take extra good care of you and give you some extra love and attention if you're coming to us from Rev Rock Revolution.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Love that. Yeah, again, like I said, definitely go do it. If you're even just thinking about maybe, you might as well just reach out and see if it's right for you, because it doesn't hurt. And Melissa's very inviting, and the whole community is very inviting, so you're going to want to get as involved as possible as you can. Before we wrap up, Jonah, is there anything that you would like to close on? Or
I just want to say thank you so much, Mel, for coming on the show. It was good to talk to you, learn more about you, and also just thank you for helping artists like Nick and I bridge that gap and get artists to where they want to go. Like, it's been so helpful.
Yes, 1,000. I just thank you so much for skill sets, for mentalities, mindsets, and the most important relationships and friendships that I'll ever have in my entire life. And especially, I just want to say especially this one right here. It couldn't be, like, I wouldn't have known him at all without your program. So just a million times over, thank you.
That just makes me so happy. I can't even begin to tell you. You guys both make me so proud every day. I love watching you out there flying high and doing all the things, playing all the shows, and launching this amazing podcast. You know, I'm a fan anyway of the pod.
Of course.
So thank you so much for having me. Your listeners and your fans are so lucky to have you in their lives. And thanks for paying it forward. Just keeping the community going and creating more great cultures for music lovers and music fans throughout the world. It's really awesome. Very proud of you.
It's a ripple effect. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, it is that time. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And until next time, my name is Nick Bally.
I'm Jonah Doc and I.
And this is
Rev Rock Revolution!
All right. Thank you so much, Mel, once again. Can't wait to see you soon, and for everybody to see more with you. All right. See you guys next week. Peace.
Bye.